The Israeli commando raid that killed 8 Turks and 1 Turkish American on an aid flotilla sparked protests in Europe, the U.S., and the Middle East. The flotilla was headed to Gaza, and the incident brought renewed attention to Israel's blockade of Gaza, a narrow coastal strip along the Mediterranean Sea that is home to 1.5 million Palestinians. While the U.S. did not condemn Israel, President Obama met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to discuss the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
It is important that we get all the facts out, but what we also know is that the situation in Gaza is unsustainable. I think increasingly you're seeing debates within Israel recognizing the problems with the status quo. And so President Abbas and I had very extensive discussions about how we could help to promote a better approach to Gaza.
At first, the crisis threatened to derail indirect peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians. But U.S. Special Envoy George Mitchell renewed shuttle diplomacy days before President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu are to meet. The Palestinians have put a September deadline on the current round of negotiations. Middle East analyst Shibli Telhami is a professor at the University of Maryland.
Clearly, there is an expectation that this diplomacy is aimed at resolving the conflict, not at managing it. There's a sense of urgency. Time is running out of the two-state solution. It is the only solution the U.S. advocates. And a president of the United States has to be involved for that to happen.
President Obama has made the two-state solution, with a Palestinian state living alongside Israel, a top priority. Mr. Obama has pressured Israel to stop Jewish settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and that has caused strains in the relationship. Since Mr. Obama took office, there has been little public progress toward peace. Danielle Pletka at the American Enterprise Institute blames the president.
Well, I think that the president has successfully managed to erode the United States' special relationship with Israel, not to speak of our special relationship with a whole variety of other allies. He's managed to put the Palestinians in an incredibly invidious position in which they cannot accept less than the American president demands. He's managed to set up peace talks that are of a lower standard and with less prospect for success than any previous Republican or Democratic president. So I think things have, to use the vernacular, gone to hell in a handbasket.
Some Middle East analysts say Israel's Gaza blockade has not significantly weakened the militant group Hamas, which seized power in the territory in 2007. But the flotilla raid strained relations between Israel and Turkey, which until recently were friendly.
Turkey was playing a key role in mediation. The worsening of relations between Turkey and Israel has in some ways challenged the strategic picture, including the way Israel sees itself in the region.
After the flotilla incident, Turkey recalled its ambassador to Israel and has called for Israel to apologize and compensate victims' families. Turkey also called on Israel to lift the Gaza blockade, and the Jewish state has begun to allow more items into the territory. Analysts say Turkey's actions are a sign of a strategic shift by Ankara.
Turkey has decided that it wishes to orient itself not toward the European Union, not toward the West, but instead toward the Middle East. Worse still, not toward the Arab world with which we work, but instead towards Syria, towards Iran and other countries. And I think we have to see the flotilla incident in that context.
President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu are expected to try and move beyond what has been a rocky relationship. The last time the Israeli leader visited the White House after a dispute over Jewish settlements, the two did not pose for pictures or hold a joint news conference. Meredith Buel, VOA News, Washington.